And then I resonate a lot with what you said about like, you didn't really have a goal. You stepped in here and you didn't have this like great aspiration to be the next Bela Karolyi or be the next, which I think at this point, probably nobody wants to be the next Bela Karolyi, but just, the next big high caliber of coaching, right? I didn't have any of those aspirations either. Absolutely not. Like I know people that have in the back of their mind, front of their mind at all times, I want to be the next Olympic coach. I want to be the face of the next Olympic gymnast. I want to be like actively. I've watched them coach level 4s and they can think about that. They can talk about that. They come from a long lineage. They have a pedigree of like people that came before them, either their own parents or their old coaches, or they come from a country where they themselves were Olympians themselves, and now they want to be the next generation of Olympic coaches. I still don't have any of that.
Yeah. I
have absolutely no long-term goal, in the sense that I have this vision of myself on a poster board looking like an Olympic coach. I have short-term goals, and I have real, like actual tangible goals of how I think that I can spread awareness and help coaches and help athletes and help right in my immediate, that I can control, athletes that I can put an influence on in real time. But anything past that, I actually feel like it gets in the way. I feel like if I get too stuck with the thought that I want to be the next level 10 superstar coach and the next elite coach, and this rising, I feel like if I get caught up in that mindset, I find it very easy to lose track of nuances that are really helpful in the moment to athletes. And also, I find it really weird that even if I have that goal, in order for that to happen, I have to transplant that goal onto a young woman, like a young athlete.
Yeah.
And that feels weird, because what if that's not their goal?
Yeah.
What if that's not what they want? What if they just want to have fun? And what if they're just taking life in the moment? And I'm over here saying like, oh, you have the potential to be a this and that and this and that, and that's not what's registering in their brain, right? So then that tug of war makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. And one of the things I think with sports, the coach never is the one writing their own resume based off of what they're doing. It's their athletes that are writing the resume for them. And what I mean by that is what you do with your athletes and the success that they have ends up writing your own resume. So first of all, you can take that into two different ways, right? One, you can force their hand to write it the way you want it to be written. Or two, you can learn about them, who they are as people, and partner with them in their goals. And if some of their goals are to be able to reach certain levels, and you feel like either you can help them or you're willing to do the work to learn how to get them there, before you know it, you'll just organically get there, right? And I think there's a lot of coaches who are like that. I don't believe that a majority of the coaches who are at the highest levels, or in our sport, like Cecile and Laurent, other coaches like that, came from that perspective. Hey, you know what? I acquired all this knowledge. I did all these things, and now you're going to be the canvas in which I'm going to create my art with. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's what we end up doing. Right. And then we get frustrated with what's happening, and we end up getting mad at the product. And one thing I always say is we're dealing with people and not products, right?
Correct.
And so
when not just people, children.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is kind of like contextually really makes a difference. Yeah,
it does. And but even with children, you're also dealing with your staff, right? So no matter what position you're in, is if you can't be a person that people want to connect with, right, it makes it really hard. Or if you have to force yourself to create not really a connection, but force yourself or force somebody's hand to do something, either a fear tactic or a sense of where you're going to ignore them, or a sense of, hey, I'm just going to be a dictator, or whatever the case may be. It's hard because, again, it's not just like, if my iPhone is not doing what I need to, I can either throw it, I can break it, I can leave it alone, I can walk away from it, I can turn it off, I can do all these other things. People, you can't really do that with, because they have emotions. Your phone is not, Siri's not going to pop up and say, hey, why did you turn me off? Why did you break me? Right. Man, it made me so sad. It's not going to tell you that. But humans, they're either going to show you that in immediate responses. They're going to either tell it to you if they're comfortable, or you're going to see the effects either immediately or down the line of what you did to that person. Yeah, the manifestation of it. Yeah, for sure. And so
this goes back to your point. This is where it gets philosophical. To your point about vaulting, you made a very poignant point about if the end of the vault is not happening the way you want it to, chances are what's wrong is the things before it, not the thing afterwards. So there goes a very salient, like, philosophical level now. Like, you're gonna see the manifestations of that type of coaching if with people. If they're internalizing what you're doing in a bad way, you're going to see the results of that down the line. And chances are that it's not that's the problem. It's what came before it, i.e. the way that the adult in the room approached the conversation, approached the situation. That's where we get to make those connections about why sports are important in general. That's why sports are important as an adversity, as a way to face adversity. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I agree with you. I think that perspective in the sport has been desperately needed. You bring up Cecile and LaRon, and I think that I praised them in the last episode with Marissa a lot, because we were watching the Simone Biles. Well, we watched separately the Simone Biles documentary, but then to your point, like they come across as very, and I've spoken to them in passing. And semi-professionally, and again, they come across as like, we're just facilitators. We know the information and we know what we're doing, but we're just facilitators, and we're going to be strict in what your goals are, because this is what it takes to be there. But we're not trying to use you as the canvas in which we're going to write our resume. We're going to be the advocates for the dreams that you have. And we just so happen to have the information that can make it, that can help you in your endeavors. But we're just facilitators, and that is how I see myself oftentimes as a coach. Is like, I'm a problem solver and I'm a facilitator.
Yeah,
first and foremost.